lots of people have seen angels. If you got a group of like 20 people together and said, okay, everyone share your angel stories. Not everybody, but some people in there would have seen something.
Okay, so everybody knows that angels exist, but who are they exactly?
Today, we've got a message from angels directly to all of us about who they are. Hey everybody, welcome to Swedenborgian Life Podcast. Super glad that you're here. My name is Curtis Childs, and I'm your host. Dr. Jonathan Rose, co-host.
Hey, Curtis.
How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Oh man, I'm great. I love doing this. Thanks for being here. And
it's so fun.
It's cool to have a space where people aren't gonna say, "Whoa, what are you talking about, angels? You bunch of weirdos." They would say that, but they don't know. We're in our secret little podcast zone where only affinity people tune into it. So thanks everyone for being that. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, that helps us find our tribe. The angels are super important to the human experience. I mean, according to Swedenborg, who had more experience with angels than anyone I've ever heard of, you wouldn't survive if you didn't have angels with you. They're like right. The plumbing of your consciousness in some ways.
Yeah, there's an interdependence there, which is astonishing, and I think astonished him when he discovered it.
You feel like you're alone. It's very easy to feel like I'm alone.
Yeah.
There's no help around me. But if you're functioning and you're conscious, it means you got at least two angels with you. But what does that mean? Like, who are angels? Where do they come from? And so there's a bunch of competing theories, right, about angels and what they are.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, you have a theory that they are a separately created race of beings that have no gender and haven't ever experienced eating, food on this planet or going through the things that we go through, but for some reason they love us and want to help us because they're angels, I guess. But you also, and there are lots of angels in the Bible. Think of all the angels in the Christmas story. Like there's a bunch of angels who show up. But there are also other angels or cherubs or things that show up that have wings or eyes all over them, or they've strange heads, or
right.
What is that? And then you have the idea that, well, okay, maybe our grandparents, great grandparents who've passed on do they become angels, or are they just with angels in the same place where the angels are, but they're not angels? So There's a lot of, everybody knows about angels, but how many people really know what they are?
So we're not here to try to assault your cherished conception of angels and where they come from, but we do want to offer a perspective. And Swedenborg, who was a guy who was like, the world was incredibly Christian where he was, and there was a theology from the church, and suddenly has his spiritual eyes opened, records the longest series of continuous spiritual experiences ever, I would think.
Yeah.
And
as far as I know,
just gets to know angels like better than the postman. I guess you don't really know the postman that well, but
and to me, a lot of what I like about this show, the idea is not to replace or shove aside other ideas or whatever. It's just, I picture a computer drop-down menu.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you're frustrated because the menu comes down, but it's like, it doesn't say print. Like where,
Yes. Where's undo?
Yeah. I just want this to be one of the things on the menu. I want people to have the option of thinking these thoughts. I find them valuable, but at least it should be out there in the information stream.
Yeah.
Right?
So
right?
we're hedging. Like that's our attitude, and then you're going to get into the Swedenborg, where he just like in the polemic style of the 18th century, like this is how it is. That is. He had an urgency about it, but he says that the urgency angels want us to know this. So let's check it out.
Right. Yeah.
This is we're going to start in his book called The Last Judgment, which then is a whole nother thing about when did the last judgment already happened and when did it. Won't get into that here, but this chapter is titled Heaven and Hell Come from Humankind. The Christian world, here we go. We're going to stir the pot a little bit. The Christian world is totally ignorant of the fact, and this is Christians in the 1700s, that heaven and hell come from humankind. People believe that angels were created at the beginning and that this was the origin of heaven. They believe that the devil or Satan was an angel of light who was cast out with his gang because he became a rebel, and that was the origin of hell.
Very familiar idea.
Yeah, but that's a weird idea. Well,
It's a very odd.
okay, you viewers may have a better conception of this than I. But if you think of hell, so what is hell in the traditional Christian conception? It's just like misery and suffering and like the terror of existence, right?
Everlasting punishment.
It's
torment.
what everyone fears if you're a Christian. Oh no, what if my family doesn't? Just this like horrifying thing. So it started because an angel rebelled, and that's what started hell.
And had an entourage of some kind and took them with them.
But why would humans then get sent to why didn't God just say, no, you're not going to build this separate place? But why would he give so many of his children
And if you're
to that
already an
place?
angel, which the whole idea of salvation is that you're safe, you're saved. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not supposed to come undone.
I'm just saying a lot of people suffer from, like, the idea of hell terrifies people. And I don't know if I get it. I don't like that conception of hell. Where, because Swedenborg just said heaven and hell come from humankind. So we're not trying to say that, people don't have negative spiritual experiences where they see that and all that.
Right.
But the idea that hell was this permanent punishment place started by sort of like, I'm gonna take this seed money and go start my own thing. Thanks. That became super successful because now all these people go to hell. No way, man. Okay, well, angels are utterly astounded that this is what the Christian world believes.
Wow. Okay. So say that again. They're asking Swedenborg, like, really? That's what they think?
Yeah, and even more astounded that people know absolutely nothing about heaven, even though this should be central to what the church is teaching.
Central. That's so interesting because I think a lot of Christianity, but also other religions, is politicized a fair thing to say. It seems to be very focused on, understandably, about human suffering in this world and what's happening and all that. But he's saying, no, the afterlife, like what's going to happen to us after we die, it's got to be central because that affects the way you live your life, right?
Yes, I mean, for the Swedenborg, heaven is a state that can be reached. Like every day, you can be building heaven in yourself, by keeping the commandments in all these different ways. So it's not even just like, well, what's going to happen after I die? But like today is the start
Today.
Okay, should be central. Yeah. So central to what the church is teaching should be your vision of where you're going. Just like central to guidance counseling is that there is careers.
Yeah.
You're not just in school to be in school.
Some idea of the options.
Yeah. Right now you're going through school. You got your tests. You got your homework. You got your locker combination. That's not what this is for, though. It's for careers. And careers are coming up.
Yeah.
Because this kind of ignorance has become dominant, angels rejoice at heart that it has now pleased the Lord to reveal a great deal about heaven and also about hell, and by this means to dispel, as much as possible, the darkness that has been increasing every day because the church has reached its end.
Yes. So the tone of that is not, well, there are competing ideas and you can choose this or you can choose that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all darkness. That's all wrong. I'll set you straight.
Well, all he's saying is that the end of the Christian church was in the 1700s. And now there's a new thing that's restarted, even though people might not be able to notice the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
another pretty
that's
stunning.
A whole other
so
thing.
We've lightly covered some very stunning ideas already in this show.
Okay. And here's the urgent message from angels. And this is him passing it along. So they, meaning the angels, want me to assure you on their behalf that there is not one angel in all heaven who was created an angel from the beginning. And there is no devil in hell who was created an angel of light and cast down. No, all the people in heaven and all the people in hell have come from humankind. The ones in heaven are the ones who lived lives of heavenly love and faith while in the world, and the ones in hell are the ones who lived lives of hellish love and faith.
Odd to speak of hellish faith, isn't
really.
it? But yeah.
Yeah, really.
You would think it would be hellish absence of love and absence of faith or something, but yeah, it's interesting that he does say that.
So, what's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that's astonishing. What is satisfying to me about that statement is that I think you could think that, well, there are angels and then there are other beings, and there are archangels and there are the seraphim, and there's the, there all the different ranks of beings up there, and there's Michael and Gabriel and so on. But his blanket statement, there's nobody else, 100% of who's up there in both of those worlds. They're all what I would call ex-people. They're people who lived on a planet, died, went to the other side, And
it's fascinating about like Gabriel, because it's certainly, an angel Gabriel makes an appearance, and I'll have people write in and say, like, I prayed to the angel Gabriel or Michael, and they helped me with this thing. There is that, but instead of it being one person who was just really top of their class and is now a major player, it's a function. So it's a group of angels. It's like, what was it say that Michael is protecting truth? Is that right? Or was it Gabriel?
Michael's the one who fights, right? I think
Yeah.
Michael is the one who ends up fighting. So I think that protection function, whereas isn't Gabriel more announcing?
Right.
Like bringing good news. And
So there's any angel who's participating in that function, like anyone who's using the truth to fight for people, is part of this thing that is called Michael, which can appear to someone as a single angel, because any group of angels can appear as a single
that
being.
way. And I love it. Suddenly strikes me, gosh, that's a really smart way to do it. Like you don't want to have a huge multinational corporation that has one salesperson or something, right? One accountant. I mean, you want a whole bunch of people who are performing that function. And so having depth on that bench, like, okay, Michael is the name for that whole function because it's more one than it is separate. But that can be performed by a bunch of people with that same love and that same spirit.
Well, it's kind of like...
And I've wondered, I mean, this was going out on a limb, but I've wondered whether Swedenborg is part of Michael. Is he a Michael? In training or something?
Right.
Because he's taking on that sort of, no, we've got to get rid of this falsity. This is not right. We should set the record straight.
Well, if you say, hey, I'm here, I'm from the Red Cross.
Yeah.
It's the Red Cross is there for you.
Yeah.
Even though whichever individual person is showing up, there could be different people all over the world, but it's the Red Cross because they have they're trying to do the same thing for you. They have the same tools, they're share knowledge,
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with all, this is McDonald's, wherever you find it. I don't know if that's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fascinating. And no devil in hell who has created an angel of light and cast down. So all the people populating heaven and hell are us. We're making heaven, we're making hell, or we're choosing the kind of lives that then God arranges into heaven or hell. All right? The purpose of the reason why it's important to know that heaven is made up of people is that that's why anything exists. This is Last Judgment 13.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
No, that's it. It only goes back to the reason that's why anything exists.
Okay, the reason for existence as an entirety.
The heaven of angels is the reason why everything in the universe was created.
Yes, and he says elsewhere that the whole goal, like God's purpose, ultimate purpose, is a heaven from the human race.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we turn into them and into angels at some point under the right circumstances is the entire point of this whole huge universe and everything.
Well, yeah. Why does matter exist? Why does energy exist? Why does the solar systems and galaxies exist? Why do animals, plants, minerals, bodies, all of that, all the features of life, why do they exist? For the sake of the heaven that the Lord is trying to build, which the heaven is made up of people who are in totally happy state forever.
And I think our audience is predominantly human. I'm not certain, but
Hello.
but with the
metrics
humans
seem to indicate.
yeah. And the understanding who you are, what sort of being you are, and what's possible for you in the future is very important. The human race is not a cosmic mistake, an evolutionary mishap or something.
Right.
I know it can seem that way sometimes, but no, this was part of a huge plan, and with a very bright future.
Believe it or not,
Even though we go through some stuff while we're here on this
Sure.
planet, we go through stuff. But
Yep. I cut us off mid-sentence there. That wasn't the end of the sentence, but I just felt like that statement, which he's made other places, which is why he'll just throw it in the first half.
It's one of Swedenborg. You know, if you had to boil it down, I think that's one of his.
That's it. That may be
that's a key point.
The cliff notes, or the cliff note. But it goes on, because a heaven of angels is the reason for humankind, and humankind is the reason for the heavens we see above us and the planets they contain. So this divine work, the heaven of angels, looks above all toward what is infinite and eternal, and therefore looks toward multiplying without end, because heaven is where the divine itself dwells. We can conclude from this that humankind will never come to an end, because if it did, the divine work would come to a halt at a specific quantity and would cease to look toward infinity.
Well, now that's a useful reassurance, because it's easy in this day and age to feel like, whoa, we're only sort of one nuclear bomb away from, like it's over, or would pollute ourselves to death or whatever, which seemed, possible. It seemed like there are options that could happen. But we're not talking about destruction would shut down the whole reason for this entire thing.
Yep.
There's a reason behind all this.
It's kind of freaky sometimes. Like that many people, how are you gonna have that many? But apparently that's nothing to the divine.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep on going.
That's right.
All little cells of the body. We'll just keep on going.
Every one of them different.
Okay, so that's Swedenborg's take, but that's not always necessarily been the take of the human race, and particularly in the Christian world, which is Swedenborg was very concerned with.
Yes.
Because he felt like the angels were telling him so that he could help the Christian world see that it's so. I mean, you have a lot of other cultures who will say, oh yeah, like your ancestors are there for you and that kind of thing.
Don't you feel like from that earlier thing that it said that the angels are sort of, oh, finally, there's someone from Earth here. Hey, you got to tell them.
Yes.
You got to tell them.
Yeah, tell them what it's really like, what they're about to find out,
They
what
don't
everyone
know.
finds out.
Tell them. And Stephen goes, yes, yeah, no, I'm on it.
So
but tell them, really, tell them.
So you could be watching and you could still be not convinced, and if you're and particularly if you're not convinced because you say there's biblical reasons to not take it this way. So let's take a look at where did this originate?
Where did this idea come?
Yeah. And even if you're not interested in the biblical reasons for things, I think you'll find some fascinating details about the way angels are and the way the life is in this. So, Last Judgment 14. Why has the Christian world seized on this belief about the people in heaven and the people in hell? The belief meaning that they were a separately created race. Angels have told me, again, go right to them, that it comes from a few passages in the Word, understood only in their literal meaning, and not illuminated and explained by means of a genuine body of teaching drawn from the Word.
Huh. And what I take him to mean at the very end there is that, you take one passage. I think the whole thing about the fallen angel, if I'm not mistaken, is based on Isaiah chapter 14, where it talks about Lucifer. He was the son of
How
the
far
dawn,
you have
and he
fallen,
fell down,
yeah.
he fell down, all that kind of stuff. But it says right there, this is about Babylon, and it says some things about it that make it a little clearer. But people latched onto something and said, okay, I know what that means. That means, that's how hell came about. But when he says something, a body of teaching, he's talking about, okay, how does that square with Cain and Abel? How does that square with David and Goliath? What about Jesus and the disciples? What about this other thing? What about today you'll be with me in paradise? What all these things. How does that? Don't just take it from one passage. You got to square it against the other things that are written in there.
Well, let's again. I stopped mid-sentence, but let's finish this sentence.
I think it's my fault.
No.
It's always my fault.
No. It's never your fault. You're doing a great job. I think this gets at what you were just saying, which I love your explanation of that. Because when in fact, and this is a fascinating statement about the word, when in fact if the real body of teaching of the church does not light the way, the literal meaning of the word leads the mind astray in a variety of directions, causing ignorance, heresies, and errors.
And that's a problem.
I feel like you just gave an example. So you have this passage in Isaiah, which again is just one passage. There's not a lot of, maybe people could find a few others if they're out there, but for the idea of where did the devil come from and Lucifer, and a lot of that sort of, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the development of hell and the devil came actually from things like Dante's Inferno. And so you have that one passage, which you're saying, like later in there, it says this is about Babylon, but people have latched onto that, and without a body of teaching to rein that in, or without a comprehensive view of that's a good way to put it. I didn't think about it like that. That you have to have something that can stand on its legs all around the Bible or something. But
Right.
if you don't have that, if you don't have some kind of guidance, you can't just wander in there. And everybody knows that people have pulled all kinds of really intense ideas out of the Bible.
Yeah.
That even like the majority of the Christian world wouldn't get behind. You know.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, isn't it true that there are different denominations within Christianity, and sometimes they unfortunately disagree about what the Bible means? They're using the same Bible, right? But they no, that means this, that this means this, and you have to do that. You have to have some kind of body of teaching, because it's all kinds of different statements in the Bible written by different authors over a long period of time. So Swedenborg talks about the importance of having some kind of a paradigm, some sort of a structure in your head when you read it.
So you can't really blame people. Like they read things in the Bible and it's like, okay, that's how you come to it.
And everybody's saying, you see, there it is.
I know. This is continuing in Last Judgment. Another reason people in the church have these ideas is that they believe no one will get to heaven or hell before the Last Judgment, which this book we're reading from Swedenborg is called Last Judgment, which makes the claim that and the picture of the Last Judgment they have adopted is that everything visible to the eye is going to be destroyed, that new things will come into being, and that souls will be reunited to their bodies, allowing people to live as human beings again. This belief goes along with another, namely a belief in angels as beings created in the beginning. Since you cannot believe that heaven and hell are from humankind when you believe that no human being will get into heaven or hell until the end of the world.
Right.
To convince people that this is not the case, I have been allowed to meet with angels and have conversations with people in hell. I have been engaged in this interaction for many years now, sometimes without interruption from morning to evening, and in this way I have been taught about heaven and hell.
And when you read his Journal of Spiritual Experiences, which he kept over a 20-year period, and it extends to thousands and thousands of pages, it's in like a bunch of big volumes in the printed edition now. You can see him encountering people he knew. He sees them here. Sometimes he sees them like 2 days after they died. He's talking to them while their funeral's going on.
Yes, right.
He sees what happens to them next. And I've started keeping sort of track of the dates and names and everything of, he sees a lot of people. He says at one point, he's seen practically everybody that he ever knew in this, just the bit players in your life, the little walk-on, no-speaking part people, even then, he sees practically everybody. He says, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it runs into the hundreds of thousands. So he's kind of run the experiment a bunch of times and seen people, boom, and that's recognizably still, Erland Brohlmann, and there's, Eric Benzelius, and right.
It's not that often, and it's always fascinating when Swedenborg will make a self-referential statement about why this happened to him.
Yes.
Why did the Swedenborg phenomenon happen? If anyone's not familiar, you have this guy, scientist at the peak of his powers and success who has this series of spiritual experiences, and that opens his view into the spiritual world. And then he just goes on to just have this incredible, what do you want to call it? Revelation, dispensation, record of all these amazing details about life after death. Why that happen?
Yeah.
And he was saying part of that is so that people can be convinced of the truth that your life is about to continue in an afterlife that where you'll recognize you continue to be who you are. I mean, sure, you grow and change and evolve, but the heavenly love and faith you have continues to matter there and be there. And so that changes how you see what you're doing now, and it changes how you see where you're going, you know?
And reassurance that you are not going to be stuck underground for 10,000 years or in some sort of twilight weirdo zombie state, and then eventually resurrect to be reunited with this lousy flesh that you had that's now since been eaten by maggots or whatever.
What that does that's cool is it reunites Christianity with your general spiritual experiences from the public. Because as I was saying, really people do have quite a lot of experiences with angels.
Yes.
It's shockingly common. And
it's awesome. I love those stories. They're just great.
And so often it's like a relative or something.
Yes. Yeah.
It's somebody. Right. So often people will see the story of, I knew somebody, there's someone I loved who I knew they were dying, and I got just feeling that they were going somewhere, and then suddenly they were at the foot of my bed, or I heard their voice in my head saying like, I'm going to go, I love you, or something. And then the phone rings and it turns out that they died. That's so common.
So common. Yeah. Yeah. I know
so this gives
a number
us
of people that's happened
the
to.
Bible, and that it gives it a way to talk together.
Yes.
I think that's what Swedenborg was trying to do, is provide an intersection by which not even just Christianity and spiritual experiences, but even like Buddhism and all kinds of native religions.
Yeah, because this is across all
they all can get
religions,
together,
isn't it?
For this like truth party.
There's near-death experiences from all over. And I remember reading this book. I can't remember what it was even called or the author's name, but it was a pastor who ended up feeling very badly because some parishioner had opened up to him about her near-death experience. And he had told her that was evil spirits, or it couldn't have happened, or something like that. He just sort of put that whole thing down. And then when he started to read it, he realized, oh no, I think he had the humility to admit, I think I've been reading my Bible wrong. And here I am taking what I think the Bible's saying and sort of questioning this person's lived experience. You know?
Yep.
And then came to and part of his apology was kind of write a whole book about here's how I see it now and how this works with the Bible, how you reconcile the two.
So let's get in now to some of these passages in the Bible. If we're trying to unite everything, or trying to see that there actually is a uniting of everything back in the center, let's get into these passages that people look at and think, well, I can't validate this person's spiritual experience because in the Bible it says something different. So
and it does say things that.
So let's take a look at Psalms 8, 4-6.
Okay. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visit him? For you've made him a little lower than the angels, and you've crowned him with glory and honor. You've made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. You've put all things under his feet. So lower than the angels does sound like, okay, humankind is special, but there's another group that's more extra special of the angels.
No, but there's this, if you're talking about a body of teaching, this passage is referred to in Hebrews, and it makes you aware of a little more of what the meaning of it is. So that's Hebrews 2, 5-9.
For he, with a capital H, has not put the world to come of which we speak in subjection to angels. But one testified in a certain place, saying, what is man that you're mindful of him, or the Son of Man that you take care of him? You've made him a little lower than the angels. You've crowned him with glory and honor, and set him over the works of your hands. You've put all things in subjection under his feet. For in that he put all in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not put under him. But now we do not yet see all things put under him. But we see Jesus, who was made a little lower than the angels, for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of God, might taste death for everyone.
So it's talking about Jesus.
That's talking about Jesus, that Son of Man. Yes, that's right, which is a frequent term used in the New Testament.
The first one includes a phrase that sometimes gets translated as mankind or humans, but in the Hebrew is singular, Son of Man.
So the Son of Man reference there is a singular reference to
Jesus.
Jesus. Clearly, the author of the Hebrews interprets it as that's about Jesus.
Yeah. So this is talking about the amazing miracle that the Lord God of heaven got put in a position where he's even below the people that are in heaven.
Yeah, that's right. Really human, quote unquote. I mean, he came down. He went all the way through the process from birth, from being a little infant, and all the way through, and yet became at the end, because there are other scriptures that say that he's far above the heavens. In his resurrection, now he fills all things. That's what it says.
Okay, next one is Luke 20.
Yeah, this is the story. They bring him a story to test him about this woman who had 7 different husbands, and then they say,
right.
Who's she going to be with in the afterlife? And Jesus answered and said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are counted worthy to attain that age and the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage, nor can they die any more, for they're equal to the angels. It doesn't say they are angels. There's equal to the angels, and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But even Moses showed in the burning bush passage that the dead are raised when he called the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For he's not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. So you have both there in that passage in a way, don't you? Because you've got both the suggestion that, well, people are not angels, and that angels don't marry. People marry, angels don't. So I think that's the sole passage on which they base this idea that they're genderless beings. Okay, they don't have gender and they don't marry. But then at the end of the same passage, he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who were earthly, fleshly human beings who lived on this planet.
Yeah. And
then it says he's not God of the dead. So they're not waiting for the last judgment somewhere. They're living. He's God of the living. It's so powerful. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are alive and are in that other world.
And so, sometimes there are passages in the Bible that talk about the creation of angels. And so people think, well, that shows that they're separately created. But things that get created, like a plant is created, starts as a seed, grows up into a plant.
It goes through an orderly process. It's not poof, it's not like poof magic.
I mean, if you look at the way that anything science has discovered about how was the earth created? God created it. How was it created? It was created over time through a process. How was the universe created? Over time through a process. How were adults created? Over time through a process. Like you can say there's adults, like he created the adults, he created the kids, but you go through a process to get to there.
And that does not make it non-miraculous. Like the process is miraculous. It's when you see children grow up and become mature adults, it's amazing. Because it's of the mind and not just, the body's aging, but there's a development that's going on inside as well.
And again, if you compare it to other places in the Bible, when the creation story, for example, it's so focused on the earth. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Although the word for heavens there, unless I'm mistaken, is the word for sky. So it's created the sky and the earth.
Right.
It doesn't talk about any of the features of heaven. It goes into detail about what happens on the earth.
Yes.
Plants.
Right.
Animals, fishes, humans. But it doesn't talk at all about the afterlife and is there hills there? There's clouds there? It doesn't talk about creating angels or anything. It just talks about the earth.
Zero mention of creating angels. Yeah. So there may be other scriptures elsewhere in the Bible that talk about creation in connection with angels, but the actual creation story where you'd expect to hear about it, there are two creation stories. Neither of them mentions the creation of angels. And yet, if you go through Genesis, in a few chapters later, all of a sudden, an angel appears to, well, where do they come from?
Yeah, and also...
But people have been living for a number of generations by that point. So Swedenborg's idea seems sound that, those angels came from the people who lived. They died. Now they're angels, and they're in the story. And you didn't have to cover that part separately because it wasn't a separate creation. That came out of the group of people known as Adam and Eve, just as there's a group of people that are Michael or Gabriel.
The word that's translated angel, again, this is me not knowing these ancient languages, and I've heard many people say this, the word that's translated angel is messenger.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That's true.
So people translate it into this new category of thing, angel, but if it's saying messenger, that changes it. Like, sure, it's a messenger. The way that angels behave in the Bible, they're supernatural. They appear to these shepherds in their fields. They're watching over their flocks by night, and they can disappear. They can appear in dreams. But if you're just saying a messenger of God, then that changes you wouldn't ever start by starting to concoct, okay, these are different people. This is a separately created thing.
Right. Know? Any more than you'd think that someone who brought a message to you, they are the messenger. Well, that's a role that they're playing. It's a useful thing that they do.
Right. They're that's their current function.
Yeah. Right now, they're a messenger. Shortly, they'll be whipping up a toasted cheese for dinner or something.
That's right, man. Is that what they eat? So there are passages that are, like, we've gone over some here that are ambiguous, and you could see where people get these ideas from. But there's also passages that support strongly the idea that angels are human beings.
Yeah, and to my mind, it seems like these are less paid attention to somehow.
Okay, so let's hit some of these. We got two from the book of Revelation.
Oh, yeah.
21:17 and then 22:8 and 9.
Yeah, this is just interesting little tidbit. This is about there's this holy city, New Jerusalem, that John on the Isle of Patmos sees in a vision. He says in a vision, and he sees this beautiful otherworldly city come down. Then John measured it, or was it an angel? I don't know who's doing this measuring. Yeah, this is an angel who measured it. Then he measured its wall 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of an angel. Yep. Oh, they have the same cubit.
Not, and it could have just been the measure of an angel, or it could have been a measure of a man or an angel. But it said the measure of man that is what
equals angel. Yeah.
So you'd have to take these into account. You can look at other passages, but these you got to take these ones into account too. Okay, what about Revelation 22:8-9?
Yes. Now I, John, saw and heard these things, and when I heard and saw, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel who showed me these things. So the angel will be like, yes, that's appropriate behavior.
Well, you're a little lower than me.
Then he said to me, see that you do not do that, for I am your fellow servant and of your brethren, the prophets, and of those who keep the words of this book. Worship God. To me, and this is one of two stories like this that happened in the end of the book of Revelation, where the angel strongly says, I'm just like you, dude, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be worshiping. You're worshiping me as if I'm a exalted, glorious being or something. I'm really not. I'm just like you. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Worship God.
How far is that?
That's where I get all this. That's where any glory I have comes from God.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. And it's certainly like the program you learn in life is like you're constantly trying to sort out, okay, wait. Actually, we're all in this together. Nobody's better than anybody else. This is like we're all fellow brothers and sisters. It's kind of cool to think, no, that's even these wonderful beings people encounter from the afterlife. No, that's us. We're all pulling on the same team here.
Yeah, and something that strikes me about angels is that angels are not. Don't people sort of instinctively think that angels are not liars? Like they're loving and they would be truthful. They're
right.
just not going to lie. Would lying be an angelic thing to do? They're not going to lie to you.
let's stay in the book of Revelation, because there's another one here.
Oh,
The Revelation 1, 10 to 11. And what we want to show here is that the mention of angels and churches, which everyone's assuming these are churches on earth, it's very intertwined. You're talking to both of them like they're the same thing.
so John reports, and again, he's having a spiritual vision. He says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. And what you see, write in a book and send it to the 7 churches which are in Asia, to Ephesus, to Smyrna, to Pergamos, to Thyatira, to Sardis, to Philadelphia, and to Laodicea. So John is going to fulfill this to send these letters out to the churches. And in every case, he says, to the angel of the church of Ephesus, write this. Those are his instructions. So these are these churches in Asia Minor, but he's writing to the angels of the churches.
And what Swedenborg would say is that makes a lot of sense, because the angels, better angels of our nature, that when we are engaged in heavenly kind of thinking and heavenly kind of actions, the part of us that's more angelic, that is us communing with heaven right now. The heaven's around, and that's where we get those kind of thoughts from. And there's a unified purpose between people, or behind people who are trying to bring heaven on earth in the world, because the whole point's heaven from the human race, and the people who are in heaven who are bringing a heaven there. Everyone who's on team heaven has got like a natural kinship.
Yeah. And this concept has helped me, because sometimes I think you can do that in this world too, to just because he probably knows if you actually talk to the people of that church, I don't know, it could be a difficult conversation or something.
Yeah.
But talk to the angel of it, And so can you talk to the angel of someone else? Like the best in their nature.
You're trying, like, okay, well, I got to have this difficult conversation with this person. I hope that this part of them is going to show up.
That's right.
I hope they'll hear me on this. And what you're hoping is that it's more sort of the angels of their nature.
The angelic part of that. Yeah.
And then there's the case of Judges 13. Do you want to just kind of skim this a little bit? It's a fascinating interchange.
It's amazing, and I recommend it to any viewers who want to look at this and check it out for yourself. It's fun to see how the words in this whole chapter of Judges 13, this is the origin story of Samson, and these are his parents, and how the word angel and man are absolutely interchangeable. And even at one point, an angel is asked point blank, are you a man? And the angel says, yes, I am. So the angel of the Lord appeared to this woman. This was going to be Samson's future mother. Angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, you'll conceive and bear a son, and do this. Gives instructions about how things are to go. So the woman came and told her husband, a man of God came to me. Well, verse 3 said it was an angel of the Lord,
right.
But she describes it as a man of God. Like, presumably this being didn't have like wings or some obvious sort of non-human characteristics, It didn't have an animal head or some other weird thing. It was called it a man of God. And his countenance was like the countenance of the angel of God. Very awesome. So it's interesting that she's saying there's a man of God, but like the angel of God.
But it is an angel.
And it is an angel. We were already told in the story, no, it is an angel. And she says, I didn't ask him where he was from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he said, here's this good news, you're going to have a child. So Manoah, this is the husband, prayed to the Lord and said, oh, my Lord, please let the man of God whom you sent come to us again and teach us what we shall do for this child. So he's praying and saying, okay, that man, and God listened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God, all through here, it's interchangeable,
Right.
So the angel of God, but it kind of cracks me up a little bit that the husband feels a little left out, So he prays and says, please let this come again. So the angel comes again, but only to the wife. And he's not there again. So God listened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came to the woman again as she was sitting in the field. But Manoah, her husband, was not with her. So then the woman ran in haste and told her husband, said, look, the man, not even of God this time, just the man who came to me the other day has just now appeared to me. So when Manoah arose and followed his wife, and then he encountered, finally sees the angel, and it says, when he came to the man, doesn't say an angel, when he came to the man, he said to him, are you the man who spoke to this woman? And he said, I am. Point blank. Yes. I mean, angels are honest. Like, would the angel say, no, I'm a different kind of creature. Can't you see my wings? Yeah. Can't you see my halo? I'm not the same kind of thing. He said, no, I am. And then it says, so the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, tell her she needs to be careful. All these instructions.
Literally calls him an angel, says he's the man. It's the same. The thing seem to be synonyms.
Absolutely interchangeable all through the whole story.
Angels are also called men in Genesis 19, Luke 24, Acts 1.
Right. There's 3 who come to Abraham, aren't there? And
Genesis
and
18,
they're man. Yeah, that's right.
It happens in Ezekiel 40, 43, 47. In Mark 16, the angel in the tomb is called a young man.
Look at that. Wow.
And then you got the Transfiguration where Moses and Elijah are there, who are human beings in the world, but they're conscious. They're in some kind of afterlife.
They're in their glory, and they're not just sort of, it's not like they're just sort of an avatar or a glowing image of them projected onto the clouds. They have a discussion with Jesus about his impending crucifixion.
Right.
So they're up on what's going to, they have this knowledge, and they're in this amazing, glorious state, not in some grave somewhere waiting for tens of thousands of years till the end of time. They're human, but they're glorious.
Hey, viewer of this thing that you're watching, did you know there's people that are just like you who are watching this, but then they clicked the join button and they became members of this channel, and now they get access to awesome behind the scenes, deeper content. It's just what we do here, but taken to the next level. And they support us as a not-for-profit financially at the same time. You want to be one of them? Do you want to go a little deeper? Click the join button. Let's go. Thank you. If I may, let's go a little bit on to the path more weirder. Like I was gonna say less taken, but let's go to the weird path. Let's go to Weird Town.
Okay.
Because even though we're talking right now about angels, that's weird enough for a regular person to hear, but
and we threw in the Last Judgment and
something. Sure. Like even though we're talking about supernatural, we're talking about the survival of consciousness after death and all that. Let's talk about extraterrestrials.
Oh, okay.
Because it could be that they're the explanation for some biblical passages is that the human race from which there's a heaven doesn't just come from Earth. Sorry, I said it. Okay, so can you read Job 38?
Now you've done it.
Job 38, 4-7.
God is questioning Job. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. It's kind of a humbling little message here. Or who stretched the line upon it? To what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the children of God shouted for joy? Interesting.
You see there how it's like you weren't around back then when I was creating the earth, but there's still these children of God.
But there were children of God who were shouting for joy. And the morning stars are singing.
Yeah, which could be that's like a language, metaphor.
Sort of poetical.
Yeah, but the children of God, that sounds like you're talking about some people who are already there or some angels, but angels are children of God. So this is there's two ways to look at it. One is that Job although according to Swedenborg, Job has different level of correspondences in it. It doesn't have a continuous internal sense, which that'll only make sense to people who are quite versed in Swedenborg. Right. You know who you are. Thank you. So it's a little different, but still is written with a knowledge of correspondences, meaning
all throughout.
Like the parables of Jesus, this is a symbolic thing. But also, just to take it at face value, if there were angels around when planet Earth was created, that, yeah, there could have been, but they would have been just people from other planets. This is from Swedenborg's Journal of Spiritual Experiences, 672. The lowest heaven is such that something earthly is joined to their spiritual part. Consequently, when angels formerly spoke with people on earth, so back in the human race's history, we were more...
Oh, right.
We could more talk to angels more easily, although I think it's kind of making a comeback. And through the prophets, the word had to come down directly into earthly forms. About this subject I spoke with those in heaven, who seemed to me to affirm them, that is, that there had been this kind of a heaven for the sake of the inhabitants of this earth, but that a very inward or innermost heaven had nevertheless existed for others in the universe.
Wow.
So the
kind of awesome.
So there's all different kinds of people in Swedenborg's cosmology across all different places in the universe. He calls them all human. He says they all have freedom and a will and an understanding like we do. And as such, they're part of the point of existence, which is to bring them into heaven. And so there's different kinds of heaven. Like whatever those people are like, they have something he calls a very inward heaven. So there's just like a very deep way of being. And so the picture is bigger, the mechanism, the architecture is bigger than just what's going on our 7 continents. Is it 7, 8 continents? Is it 9? Like there's a lot more out there.
And it's astonishing to me that even scientists, there are a lot of scientists out there right now, are there not, working on SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence or whatever it is?
Well, they're doing that. They got the government releasing all these papers that are like, well, we kind of see these spaceships. We don't know if they're space, but there's definitely something.
There's something going on, and they're finding exoplanets all the time, and they're speculating about whether they're inhabited or not. And
that's right.
And some people think it's only a matter of time.
Zone, yeah.
And I think there's a deep-seated feeling in a lot of people that just the way, this is just a humble analogy, but if you have like a concrete driveway and then you see some plant just like grow through it, like the power, or you see David Attenborough go up in a balloon to 80,000 feet or whatever it is, and he traps the air that's up there, and it's full of living organisms, absolutely full. I wouldn't, and you go down to these trenches at the bottom of the ocean and you find there's all this life down there. I wouldn't bet against life. And I think there's a sense that people think, really, this is the only planet where life ever happened? Probably not, right? I mean, if there's just hundreds of millions of galaxies, surely this happened somewhere else.
Yeah.
Doesn't this kind of want to happen? Isn't this trying to happen? Even if there's no sort of sense of an afterlife or a God, there's still the sense of this probably happened more than once. And so it's kind of awesome to think about there already being a heaven from these other zones in what Swedenborg's saying there.
So we have made the best case that I think we're going to make or want to make for angels are us, and you don't have to. It's not in conflict with the Bible. What is it? What is it? But what value is this? And what value is this to somebody who didn't really feel like there was a conflict between the Bible and angels, or maybe has a sense already that angels are? Yeah, I could become an angel. So what does this do for our daily life? What's the value in what we're bringing?
Yeah, if someone said, "Oh, this just in, angels are actually people," then you go, "Oh, interesting. Okay,
sounds good."
I mean, does it really affect us? Like, what difference does it make?
Well, it should, because what we've also learned today is that becoming an angel is the purpose of life. Because if the point of creation is a heaven from the human race, and heaven is just a word for people who have reached that angelic state, which is just a state of love and faith, as it said earlier, it does help you to know what the point of your life is.
I think it helps a lot, because this world is sort of confusingly painful, and weird stuff happens, and bad things that are not your fault, and some bad things that are your fault.
Yeah.
But just what are we doing here? And the thought that there's this, that the human potential, it kind of explains in a way, because we can be so unimpressive in a way.
Thank
humans,
you. Yep.
It takes us a while to get going and stuff like that. It's sort of awesome to think that, no, angel is on the menu for us. That's, in fact, as I said in our recent talk in Florida, it is the menu. That's what we're doing here.
Swedenborg continues on that in Last Judgment 9. Humankind is the foundation on which heaven rests. Creation began from the highest or inmost things because it began from the divine, and it proceeded to the last or outermost things, and there it came to rest. The outermost level of creation is the physical world, including our globe of lands and seas and everything on it. Once all this was finished, then humanity was created, and into humanity was gathered every level of the divine design from first to last. Things on the first level of that design were incorporated into what is inmost in us. Things on the outermost level were incorporated into what is outermost in us. The result is that we have been made embodiments of the divine design. So that's for your affirmation board.
Yeah.
I'm an embodiment of the divine design.
Not a giant cosmic mistake.
Yeah, and not that everyone else is pretty cool, but you're not.
Right.
You're an embodiment of the divine design.
That's right.
This is why everything within and about us is as much from heaven as it is from this world. From heaven, we get the contents of our minds, and from the world, we get the contents of our bodies. Okay, well, that's tangible. I get that.
I mean, I think animals and birds and trees, I've been listening to an audiobook about trees. Trees are absolutely astonishing. All these things are amazing. There's something about, like when you watch all the content that humans produce, like we really love to live in a world of our imaginations in a way that I think animals don't. Like if they have that, I don't see evidence of it. But we humans, we will gladly employ, I don't know, some significant percentage of the whole human race just creating content for the rest of us to consume, because and books that are created and all that, songs, music, art, because we love to live in that world. We love to imagine worlds or to think of possibility. I don't know. We're kind of amazing creatures, aren't we?
Heaven and earth meet in you. Your body is made of physical material. Your consciousness is spiritual. It's kind of cool.
That explains why it's a little bit difficult some days, because you know, you've got this massive spirit housed in this tiny little piece of often malfunctioning flesh or something, and it's kind of a weird combination.
Yeah, it is. And I guess that's another reason why there's this urgency. If there's this urgent message from angels, like, you got to know what's going on here with us.
Yeah.
It's because the two are connected. The two need each other, and to have an accurate understanding of each other helps us connect. Heaven is meant to be a part of our lives right now.
Yes.
And the less that we're in the dark about it, the more we can make that connection. Okay, so this is him continuing about how heaven is the mind and the physical is the body. That is, things from heaven flow into our thoughts and feelings and cause them to take shape, depending on how those things are received by our spirit, while things of this earth flow into our sensations and feelings of pleasure and cause them to take shape, depending on how those things are received by our body, although only in a way that is adapted to suit the thoughts and feelings of our spirit. Okay, so this is a little more nuanced there. It's not just, as I was alluding to before, jumping the gun on. It's just the body is physical, consciousness. Obviously, the physical impinges on the consciousness. Like my conscious vision right now is because of what photons are flowing into my eyeball. So there's a meeting point.
And yet you're perceiving it, or you're organizing that information based on the things that you're interested in. It's always fascinated me how, if you're interested in something, you can be driving along the street and your eye will just see it out of the corner, you know.
Man, there's all those optical illusions, or some little trick about, like, did you know if you put these lines are all the same size, even though they look totally different, because we tricked your brain just now. Yeah. There's all that. There's memory. I remember listening to this story on the radio once about how people's memories of things can be so different, even though they experience the same event together.
Yes. Yeah.
So there definitely is this interplay of the mind and the body, even in our conscious daily experience. But I just want to linger for a second on the things from heaven flow into our thoughts and feelings and cause them to take shape, depending on how those things are received by our spirit. While the things of this earth flow into our sensations and feelings of pleasure and cause them to take shape, depending on how those things are received by our body, although only in a way that is adapted to suit the thoughts and feelings of our spirit. So there's such an estuary there, a meeting of the spirit and the physical. There's things flowing in, but that depends on the state of your spirit, and that depends on the state of your body. So there's the consciousness that's us is this completely intertwined physical and spiritual thing.
Yes, and it's just striking me that some people, like, you would think, okay, we've all got human bodies, so everybody loves to get their shoulders rubbed, right? Like, who doesn't? No, there are people who don't like having their,
Everybody loves roller coasters.
It does not feel good. The same thing that to one person feels like, oh, that's a nice little tickle. To the other one, it's like,
food.
What are you doing? It's like nails on a chalkboard or something.
Some people's favorite food is other people's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah. So you can take the same thing, stick it in a similar human mouth, and one person's going, whoa, wow, that lights me up. And the other one's going, oh my gosh, what is that?
Well, and think about you who are still watching this, or more than an hour into it. And let's say, maybe not everybody, but somebody out there is enjoying this right now. You're watching this and you're like, this is interesting. I want to hear the next thing they say. I want to hear the next thing they say. There'd be quite a good number of people who would say, how would I ever survive watching this for more than an hour?
Not only,
but that's different. It's because different states of spirit. The subjects we're talking about are interesting to some people, and they're absolutely not to other people. That's fascinating. Same thing with you. You can go in anyone you know has got something that they would love to watch that you would like. How would I survive? How would I ever get?
Or people who want to talk about something. You're out socially and somebody gets, I loved it. And you think, here we go.
Right.
They're going to talk for half an hour about this thing that doesn't light me up. I don't really connect with it.
But, we'll humor them if it's appropriate. Let's finish with this quote from Married Love 404. Love in marriage is connected with love for children in parents for spiritual reasons and therefore for worldly ones. So it seems like we're getting an example of the spiritual and the worldly.
Kind of family life, okay?
The spiritual reasons of why you would love having children, for example, are to multiply the human race and increase the angelic heaven from it. Because what's the point of everything?
Angelic heaven.
And so that those who will become angels will be born, serving the Lord for useful things in heaven and also in the world through association with the people on earth. For the Lord does associate angels with every person. They are associated in such a way that if they were removed, a person would immediately fall down dead.
Dead, not just unconscious, dead. Like your body, like your heart, lungs, central nervous system, brain.
Everything's gone.
Everything's gone. It's all mediated. And so that's such a mystical thing to say. That's wild. Because we think, no, we're just a physical organism. We just run like you wind up and it just runs on its own.
So he's trying to give us an example of the different ways in which you can have heavenly and earthly motivations for the same thing. Like to have kids. You can say, I want to have kids just because I want to have kids. I want to be around them. And I want to have a good reason for my life. And I want to, have somebody else get to have a life like I had. Could be you want to have kids because you fall in love with someone and you're like, we want to make a life together, right? There's all kinds of reasons. But there's also spiritual reasons, which is, spiritual is when you're aware of the way things are in the spiritual side of life, and you think, well, part of what we're doing, what's the point of having all these people? Just from the earthly level, let's just keep the thing going. Let's just keep it going. You get the sense of like, that's what people in generations past did. That's what I'll do. But spiritually, you're thinking, well, the point of everything is this heaven. So heaven needs to be made up of angels. So let's make these people who have every opportunity to become angels. That's what it's all about.
And it's really striking me right now that whole system is so dependent on these physical babies. That's where it all starts.
It doesn't start in
this eternal life. It doesn't start in the spiritual world. There's no babies born in the spiritual world. It's you. This is the gateway to all that. You've got to be here first. So it's very dependent. So you can see why attraction and the whole idea. You can see why sexuality is such a huge force, because the whole universe sort of hinges on this thing. It's an interest. It's almost, you could see it as a vulnerability of the system or something. Like you're just dependent. So all the heavens are over there, but they can't do anything about it unless this thing happens down here where more children come along.
And you can have kids and have sort of spiritual joy in them and earthly joy at the same time. You can just, it's just fun to see them doing what they're doing. And you can also sometimes be thinking about, I'm hoping that this kid of mine is going to have a great life in heaven. And you can do that with anything. So your job, that's one of the big things that Swedenborg introduced, is that heaven is really about usefulness. That was as much as it's a news headline that angels were once people, it's a news headline that the joy of heaven, that this heaven we're trying to get to, is a joy-filled life. And what is a joy-filled life based on? Is based on being useful to people and being able to do things that will help and benefit them. And you can, of course, be going about and doing stuff that's helpful to people, but you can be, this is not that fun, or I don't see the point in it. But it becomes spiritual when you think about how the work I'm doing here really helps someone. That's like the first level. But then you start to think about how this is really if you keep zooming out, this is in service of heaven. Because what I'm doing is something that's trying to make life better and more orderly for people in the world, or I'm trying to educate them in spiritual topics or something, and that is creating a little more of heaven on earth, which is going to encourage people to go and become angels. And then, so you can see your work, however mundane it feels, as I'm part of the heaven project. And so that is, again, the heaven and earth meeting in the same place. And you can do that more and more the more you understand that these two things were made for each other, and one continues into the other. And the ultimate way that happens is those of us who are living in this world, the people you know and love who have passed on, they're up there doing it right now, and they're close to you.
And the developmental aspect of life continues in the afterlife, Swedenborg says. And so I find it very helpful because other human beings, I know you don't experience it this way, but occasionally I'm ashamed to admit that sometimes some humans are irritating to me, somewhat. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just sometimes.
Well, just check the comments. People get plenty irritated with us.
But yes, I know that I am very, very irritating to other people, absolutely, on a daily basis. And
it's good for podcasting, because you got to love us or hate us,
That's right. Yeah. And people who are 103 years old are just at the very infinitesimal beginning of this arc of their whole life. So hey, I'm still in the cocoon phase, we're just getting started.
I saw.
So give each other benefit of the doubt a little bit, that even if somebody seems like, well, you're a wreck or something, so now, yeah, but it's a long game.
I saw a quote from C.S. Lewis about that. It was, I don't know if you call it a meme. I guess it's not. But you know how people just post pictures with quotes on it like all the time. I don't know what you call it. I just call it a quote now. But it was that. It was, I forget what the very beginning was. But he said, these are immortals that you spurn and marry and, something else mundane. There are no finite people. These are all immortals. You know?
Well, it's quite a way. It really helps. It helps to just, that had to be how Jesus was able to be so loving, even to people who were radically mistreating him and were violently opposed to his existence and everything. Because I think he just, forgive them, they know not what they do. They're babies. They're just getting started. And,
literally,
it's a long game.
You literally, babies, if you raise a baby, they throw tantrums and all that stuff. Oh. But they're just a baby. They're going to get bigger, and we're in it for the long haul. So
yeah,
great, cool. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for all those thoughts and wisdom. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. You can join and become a channel member if you want more behind the scenes content. Go out there and continue your angel training.